wait steps. I am going to be running through these different aspects of them. We've got some different types of wait steps, timers, ones with conditions, or both, date time waits, and some top tips. ActiveCampaign and automation in general is all about having the right thing happen to the right person at the right time. Wait steps are an essential element in automations to control the speed at which things happen and when they happen. When do we allow people to continue through these automations? So I'm going to walk you through. What's happening is each individual contact is trickling through the automation, moving down all the different steps. When they get to a wait step in the automation, they just sit there and they sit in a queue. And you'll see here a number of how many contacts are in a particular wait queue. You can actually skip wait steps for individual contacts, but you need to go into the contact view. What you see here is how many contacts are sitting in the queue in that wait step altogether. And then whenever they are ready to move on according to the rules that we've set in the wait step, that contact would then move on to the next step. So it's like a freeze frame. Stand in that queue, wait there, and I'll tell you when you can move on. So let's look at what ActiveCampaign allows us to do in the way of wait steps. Now, I have some of my little friends here with me today to help me demonstrate. The first type of wait step I'm going to talk to you about is a timer wait step. Each contact, as it arrives at the wait step, is given its own little timer. That's meant to be an hourglass. It's really badly drawn. So when this contact arrives at the wait step, a timer starts running and it's going to hold the contact at that wait step until that timer has completely elapsed, at which point the contact is allowed to continue and move on through the automation. Each contact gets their wait timer starting individually as they arrive at the wait step. So each of these individuals, they have their own little sound timer running and they get to move on when their timer runs out. So this one's first, then this one's runs out and he moves on, and then Glovey here moves on. So it is literally stop, wait, here's your timer. Timer expires. You may continue on to the next step. You've got all sorts of time units and they're pretty straightforward. The next sort of wait is a little bit more complicated and it involves conditions. Our buddy ActiveCampaign knows all sorts of stuff about all of our contacts. It knows what automations they're in, what tags they've got, what their name is, what their email address is, whether they bought anything. It knows so much stuff. So we've got all the might of the conditions editor. So if we were to set a wait step that said you must have a pink tag and you must have googly eyes, and this one here arrives at the wait step and then he gets his pink tag, so he's met one of the conditions, but he doesn't have googly eyes, so he doesn't meet the conditions, so he's not allowed to move on. He's just going to get stuck there actually, because he's never going to have googly eyes. So you do have to be careful with conditions on wait steps. If you set a condition that contact can or will never meet, they're just going to sit there in the queue stuck until you manually get them out of it. So do be aware with wait steps that if you're using conditions and they don't meet the condition, they're going to get stuck there. What happens is ActiveCampaign is watching very carefully. He's looking at all of the contacts who are in that wait step in the queue and watching, waiting until they meet the set of conditions. So it could be a whole load of conditions all stacked up, this and this and this and this and this. ActiveCampaign watches until we've got a contact that matches and then goes, hooray, and lets them move on through the automation. Now, here's where it gets really crafty. You can use conditions and set a maximum wait time as well. So this is kind of like a combination of the conditions. So we could say you need to have googly eyes and a pink tag up to a maximum of 3 hours. So when Birdie here arrives at the wait step that has a maximum time set on it, a timer starts ticking. What this wait step is now saying is, I'm going to hold Birdie here until maximum 3 hours. But if he meets the conditions sooner than that, he can carry on. Now, as it happens, Birdie doesn't have googly eyes. So even when Birdie's got the pink tag that we were looking for, he's going to get held at the wait step because he still doesn't meet the conditions. But when that timer gets to 3 hours, Birdie can move on. Oh, Glovey here arrives at the same wait step. You must have the pink tag and googly eyes, but only up to a maximum of 3 hours. When Glovey arrives, 3 hour timer starts and Glovey waits. But if Glovey gets that pink tag before the 3 hours is expired, now he gets to move on, right? Because it's like whichever happens first. You either meet the conditions or the maximum time expires. One of those things happen. on you go. So nobody gets stuck in them because there's a maximum time limit. Love these. Really, really helpful. Now, speaking of times, I'm going to talk to you about date and time weights. Now, these get complicated. In the conditions editor, you have a couple of things you can use. You can ask to set conditions based on the contact's time zone or based on the time zone of the account itself. So the first thing to be really careful of is that if you're working with these, make sure you're paying attention to the bit that says it's the contact's time zone or it's the account time zone. And for me, that would say London, Europe, because that's the time zone of my account. And you've got to be really careful because ActiveCampaign is using geolocation to decide what time zone people are in, and it's not reliable. These types of weights and times, what you can do is you can stack up. I want it to be the 12th of August, 2021 at 6 p.m. I would stick to using the account time zone because you've got a lot more control there. Okay, top tips for weight steps. The biggest one I have for this is do not delete wait steps when there are contacts in the queue. So if these guys are stacked up in the wait step, waiting to meet the conditions or waiting for the timers to expire, don't delete the wait step because ActiveCampaign throws them away out of the automation in my experience. Best way to get rid of a wait step if you don't want it anymore, if it's got contacts in it, reduce it to a 5-minute wait step. So go in and edit the conditions so that it just says wait 5 minutes, wait until there's nobody in the queue, and then you can safely delete it. Other top tip for wait steps is make sure you test them because I still get them wrong, especially dates and times and things like that. Or I get a double negative and I get in a mess, or I got my ands and ors the wrong way around. You want to be throwing one of your test contacts to test the wait steps, especially if it's a really important automation. Use your powers for good and remember that the whole point of wait steps is to have the right thing happen at the right time for each individual contact that's coming through the automation. Whether it's a tap on the shoulder for you or they're getting an email or any of the other myriad things we can do. You've got a timer, you've got conditions, and you can mix the two. Genius stuff.